This is episode 10 and the final episode of season 1 of That Shero Life podcast. What a fun time it's been. I've spoken to women in midlife and beyond who show up in their lives as sheroes and help others do the same or inspire others to do it. Looking back over the episodes, I would say that this season has been about authenticity and moving forward. Perhaps I was inspired by the podcast myself around these themes, which led me to change up how I do this going forward. So I'll talk about authenticity and moving forward, about how I'm doing that, and what you can look forward to when I return for season 2 on July 18th. So authenticity seems to be a buzzword. Everyone talks about being authentic and living authentically. I get it. Sounds good. But doing it can be harder, especially when you have to ask yourself the question of what is authentic to me and what is authentic to which part of me? Because if you're like me at all, you don't show up as just one person across every aspect of your life. And if you're listening to me, you don't know me as a mother or a wife or a daughter or a sister or even as a best friend. A few of you may, but most of you won't. And some of you who do know me from those roles don't really know me perhaps as a creative or as an intuitive. I'm still me, but what I need from within to show up for each of those aspects of myself can sometimes feel different. I think this is where the idea of authenticity is so important. It's not that you're hiding or masking, you're simply making choices about how much you pull back the curtain and making sure that whatever is backstage is the same for whoever and whatever show you're putting on. So I pull from my well of resources, my skills, my gifts, my core values, my intuition for everything I'm doing. It's just a matter of how that can differ based on the audience and the reasons. So I'm curious to hear from you all about how that might look for you. I know for me, there are things that are important to me. So those things cut through and weave through everything. It's why I have this podcast. It's why I have my Facebook group, Epic Living for Midlife Women and Beyond. It's why I write books and plays with women who are imperfect, but always seeking to live in their purpose and be open to adventure. And trying to honor all the things on the prop table behind stage that make me who I am is also sometimes a struggle. How do I use my gifts of creativity and intuition without them controlling me or feeling as if I'm obligated to serve them versus them serving me? And there's a difference for sure. The past few months have taught me a lot as I turn back on my creative juices after a nice hiatus to focus on my wellness. It taught me that I can't help but be a creative. And it's something I have to lean into when it feels right, but I have to do it in a way that feels right to me first. So if you're thinking about how you can be more authentic in your life moving forward, I'd ask myself, if I were talking to someone else, I would ask myself, how am I using my gifts to support the creation of a life that I love? And then how can I set parameters in place so that the gifts don't own me and instead I own my gifts and I use my gifts to create my life? And I think there's a difference in when you ask the question that way about how the answer comes back. Okay, so let's talk about that and moving forward. So I'm going to let myself, when I think about moving forward, I'm going to let myself sit with this for a couple of weeks between seasons because I'm just not ready yet to decide. But part of me is feeling led to not just speak to midlife women, but to other women who are like me, who are creatives and intuitives or blend. I can't deny who I am, and whenever I start denying it, things don't go so well. And as a creative, I also have to be very careful of the thing I mentioned above, which is letting my creativity control me. So many ideas, so little time. And there's only one of me. It's something to grapple with. This life is a constant journey. And going forward, I do want to dive deeper into the shero's journey and how we can use some of those principles in our lives. And I also want to be mindful of, for myself, simplicity and keeping things a little simpler. And I think I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But so moving forward, so season 2 of That Shero Life podcast is going to be about the call to adventure. So in the first episode, I'll talk about the season theme, what it means, why it matters. And that first episode will be released on Thursday, July 18th. As a writer, I'm going to share my work. And as an intuitive, I'm going to keep sharing those messages I've been sharing. I know you'll see that in season 2, but how much I focus it on midlife women in general versus midlife women who are creative and intuitive, I have yet to see because I just don't know yet. But leave a comment or shoot me an email to let me know what you think. And be sure to check out that episode on July 18th to see where I land. Either way, there'll be something you can get out of it. What's happening in my life and work? Well, as I record this, my daughter just turned 22 on Tuesday, and I'm still in a little bit of disbelief that I have a 22-year-old child, while also having a 12-year-old child who happens to be on a trip to Japan right now. This is wild to me, very wild. I have to wrap my head around that. In other news, I'll be a guest at Broadleaf Writers Association's 9th annual conference here in Atlanta on September 21st and 22nd. And on September 21st, yes, the same weekend, I'll be one of 2 guests for the Atlanta Writers Club meeting. Yay! Speaking of writing, last month I started writing a new romantic comedy series, The Walking Club. I'm currently waiting on edits from my editor for the first book called But First, Crawl. I'm planning to release it in August or September. I haven't quite decided. And that's because I'm still a little bit ambivalent on something. Right now, I'm feeling a bit like a dissident in considering not releasing it on Amazon. I know, wild. This year marks 8 years that I've been independently publishing, and I'm switching what I write and possibly how I share my works. I'm gonna tell you why. When I went through my wellness journey, I had to have more lightness in my life. I had to find the joy again, and I had to heal my body. As a perimenopausal woman, my body was in a battle, and I had to fight with her. We did great, even if it's ongoing. I now know how to take care of my body for the long haul. This is the thing. There's so much heaviness in the world, and I know it's real. I personally know there is a darker side, and it's ugly. I also know that there is light and goodness, and the only way to push out darkness is with the light. I know laughter and things that make us feel good change our vibration for the better. I know this. So why not be one to create this, right? If I can do that, why not? The reason I'm rethinking going with the big river is control. If you're an indie creative of any kind, you are likely one of those people who walks to the beat of your own drum. The big river has been doing some things with how they recommend books, how they're using AI to summarize feedback, and it's becoming more difficult to carve out a space in that very, very, very crowded marketplace. And I've never been one to, play with people who don't play nice. I just don't like it. And they can choose to shut you down with no notice, remove your books, remove reviews from readers. And on the other side, from the author perspective, that can happen. But then in the marketplace of books, they are impacting real life bookstores, especially independent bookstores, the ones that are in our communities and neighborhoods. It's been one of those things I've been thinking about since publishing my last novel. I didn't do it meaning I didn't um, eliminate Amazon when I published my last thing, which was a haiku poetry journal called Love Me the Spring. And I published it through Amazon mostly because it is full color with lines, and the cost to print it through my other options were absolutely ridiculous. Unless you know someone willing to pay like 50, $60 for a poetry journal, yeah, I don't think so. But the poems in this journal were healing for me, like talking to my inner child. I was working on this a lot last summer, right before I started the wellness journey. Looking back, I don't think it was a coincidence. When I started getting the itch to write again this spring, I had to have a little heart to heart with myself. I told myself before I wasn't writing any more novels. Let me tell you, I had to keep telling myself, Bernette, you're not writing any more novels. Don't do it. Don't start it. Yes, that's a great idea. Don't do it. But I wanted to write because I enjoy it. It's part of who I am and who I've always been. But I also didn't want to write anything really heavy, like my sci-fi, my fantasy, or my historical fiction novels. I wanted my books to be in alignment with my vision for my life. And you've heard me say it before, one with more wellness, more joy, and more love. And that's how I settled on writing romantic comedies. That was bad. And that's how I settled on writing romantic comedies. Now, these aren't just fluff books because my characters are over 40 and they've lived, they've loved, they've lost, but they get second chances at life and at love. And that's something I can get behind. It's authentic to what I am about. For me, that's how authenticity can show up in my life. And the main character, who will have a story arc throughout the series, she may bear some resemblance and personality to someone I may be very familiar with called Bernette. We have to draw from somewhere. We have a lot of differences, but there's some underlying personality things that, may be in common with yours truly. So if you like romantic comedies, you can learn more about this series and the first book, which is But First Crawl at thatsherolife.com. I am looking for advanced readers, and the form will be open hopefully today. And ebooks should go out starting the first week of July. And this is July 2024, if you happen to listen to this in the future. You can also find my other books that feature female leads or sheroes at thatsherolife.com. All of my books are at mounthopemedia.com, and I'm currently setting up that site so readers can shop directly from me. Putting a few things in place now to see what happens if I don't put my new books on Amazon. I really just am not 100% sure, but I want to have the option of not doing it. I've moved my newsletter, Word to the Well, over to Substack, which I'm still getting the hang of. It's an interesting place, but I do like the newsletter feature. It's a bit simpler and everything is right there. And right now, simplicity is something I'm trying to create more of in my life. It's why you are only listening to my voice. One of the things I want to do in this last episode and in season 2 is share a wellness tip or resource in addition to the weekly messages I've been sharing. In this episode, I simply want to remind everyone about the free Facebook group I have, Epic Living for Women in Midlife and Beyond. You can join it, send a request to join, and let me know who you are, of course. And then there's my Word to the Well newsletter, which always has a section for wellness. I always share something in there for wellness. The nice thing about this format is that I have more time to channel and write out the weekly message. And it'll be something more general for anyone who's listening. If you're wondering where I get this message, my helper team is Seth or Setha. It's, if you're familiar with channeling from the 70s, you may be familiar with Seth. Well, this is masculine and feminine energy, Seth and Setha, and it's a team. If you're wondering who I am, you can see some of the older videos on YouTube if you search up Spirit Speaks channel and Setha or just Spirit Speaks channel. You probably see my face. My hair looks different, but probably see my face. And there's probably 40 to 45 videos out there of bringing forth those from the other side. I'll just say it that way. I'd love to see how you're showing up as a shero in your life. So follow me on Substack and send me a message or a picture. I may even shout you out on an episode. If you have a fitness or wellness question you want me to look into, you can ask that in the Epic Living for Women in Midlife and Beyond group on Facebook. If you have a general question you want me to ask my team, you can subscribe to my Substack and then send a question on Substack. I will be prioritizing questions from those who subscribe. Now for the weekly message. So for this podcast episode dealing with authenticity and moving forward, I ask the question, what do my listeners need to know as they move forward and live authentically? This is what I received. Fear often keeps us bound to the limitations created by others. Living authentically means listening first to yourself, your higher self or inner self as you understand it, and then touching that part of you. Feel it, hold it, nurture it, love it. Once you can do this with yourself and for yourself, you can share it with others. Until you can do this, that authentic self will continue to shy away, retreat into the shadows the moment it feels threatened or unsafe. It must be shown by you that it is okay to be revealed. You must understand the level by which you will reveal to others the aspects of yourself that make you who you are. Don't be afraid to be who you are. You cannot help it. It will come forth. Be wise in the way you share yourself, with whom, and how much of your intimate self you share with those you are not intimate with. However, remember that before you share any of your intimate self with others, you must first be intimate with yourself, nurture, love. Then from that space, you can reveal. Your authentic self, when secure that she is safe, held, and loved, will be confident enough to show what she wants to show. And it will be authentic because it is a part of her. Don't feel as if you must show everyone everything that is true. But whatever you show, let it be true. That is the weekly message. If you have a question you want me to ask my helpers, please message me through Substack. And again, send me your pics and messages through Substack and let me know how you're showing up as a shero in your life. I want you to be a part of this and to share your magic with me, with the world. I might give you a shout out. Thank you so much again for listening. Just a reminder that season 2 will begin on Thursday, July 18th. It is going to be this new format of audio only. That's the plan for now. And I will be bringing a series of episodes that really look at the shero's journey and different aspects of it. And season 2 is the call to adventure, with episode 1 being in kind of an introduction to the theme, what it means, why it matters. You'll get the weekly message and, of course, some wellness tips. If you aren't already following me or subscribed to my newsletter on Substack, please head on over there. It is BernetteSherman.substack.com. If you're interested in being an ARC reader or finding any of my books that have sheroes, go to thatsherolife.com. You can find my books there. If you're looking for my other books or my online store, you can go to mounthopemedia.com. Thanks again for listening to That Shero Life. This is the final episode of season 1. Thank you to everyone who has joined me this season and been a part of this journey with me. Thank you to all of my amazing guests, my listeners, viewers, depending on how you were consuming this. I know it's just the beginning, and I'm excited about what's to come as we head into summer. And I will see you well, I won't see you. You will hear from me July 18th. Stay well, be amazing, and keep showing up as a shero in your own life. Create that epic life that you love with more wellness, more joy, and more love. I'm Bernette Sherman, host of That Shero Life. Take care.